Welcome to Business Week TV. I'm Jill Bennett at the NASDAQ market site. Jobs are under pressure, the Federal Reserve continuing to slash interest rates, and now with sky-high food and gas prices, consumers are dramatically cutting their spending. Consumer spending rose just 1% in the first quarter. That is the weakest showing since the 2001 recession. So the spending slowdown comes as tax rebate checks begin arriving, but will shoppers spend the money or use it to pay bills or reduce their debt? Greg Clarkin takes a look.
Cutting back is back. It's been a while for many, but American shoppers are finding ways to cut corners and save dollars. It's a shift in consumer behavior that's been months in the making, but taking hold now, prompted by high food costs and $4 a gallon gas. And it's showing up in small lifestyle changes.
Instead of, driving a lot, so sometimes if I'm going to do shopping, I have to make sure that I have to plan ahead, organize myself so I don't have to go back and forth.
I'm using my small car instead of my big one. I have an 8-cylinder car, and which I'm, living and parking, and I'm using my 4 cylinders Toyota Corolla one.
In the stores, shoppers are doing more looking than spending. A recent poll found 60% of shoppers less comfortable making a big purchase today than just 6 months ago.
I'm just browsing but not buying, where, before I would buy as well as browse, but definitely thinking about where I'm going with the gas and just making do with what I have.
Candace Corlett has been tracking retail trends for almost 20 years. She says over the last few months, shoppers started pausing before buying.
2/3 of shoppers are telling us that before they buy, they stop and ask themselves, is this a smart use of my money? And 2/3 of shoppers are telling us that with gas prices and mortgage interest payments, they've had to cut back on the little things in order to gain some control over their budget.
This new restraint comes as tax rebate checks start arriving. Retailers are doing everything they can to get that money, slashing prices and offering incentives on gift cards. Walmart will cash the rebate checks for free, even if you don't shop there, and has cut prices on food and household staples. And while Washington hopes consumers pump the money back into the economy by spending freely, some may be surprised to find tax rebate checks will indeed be used for food.
I would be going to the supermarket because the price of all the food is going up, and by the time you finish with the supermarket, there's not much left.
Others say the money is earmarked to pay bills or put aside for a financial emergency.
I probably won't go out and buy anything, right. I'll probably stick it in the bank, to be honest. Or I'm not carrying a lot of debt right now, but there is some that I'm carrying. I probably will either apply it to that or put it in the bank.
It's not exactly what Washington was hoping for, but in this time of belt-tightening, it may be what it gets.
I think they've been depending on consumers for a long time to pull us out of these little mini recessions, and, it's not going to happen this time.
One of the big concerns is now that consumers have slowed spending, just how long will the slowdown last? Retail experts say consumer behavior generally is very slow to change, and that has some fearing this new restraint could go on for a while unless economic growth suddenly picks up. Jill?
So, Greg, why did it take so long for people to cut back? Because, we've seen these high gas prices and a slowing economy for the last few years, really. So what took so long?
Well, there are a couple of things recently. One, $4 a gallon gas really takes money right out of people's pockets, as do those high food prices. So those are really hammering household budgets. Now, at the same time, credit has tightened up considerably, so people really just don't have the access to the kind of cash they did before. That means they're not out there making those big-ticket purchases, such as electronics.
It really sounds like that good old need versus want debate for the shoppers.
The phrase we heard from the retail expert in our piece was the cautious pause. She said they are finding people on their way to the registers are now pausing to decide, do I really need this, or can I make do with what I have? In many cases, they are finding that shoppers are actually removing items, then going on to the registers to pay.
And Greg, you spoke with a number of people, so how much of a worry is the job market with those people?
It's more of a worry than it had been just a short while ago. We did ask people what they were going to do with their rebate checks, and some said they would put it in the bank just in case, just in case I lose my job. Now, this might not even be a big possibility to these people, but still, they are very much playing it safe at the moment out there.
Yeah, we've certainly been hearing a lot of that. All right, thanks, Greg.